What the fuck?
All right, so we are back. Here, my buddy Greg, and we're picking up the two cars. The Malibu fired right up. I didn't even have to jump start it. No warning lights on the dash, no ticks, no knocks, nothing funny. I'm just giving it a minute to warm up. So far, so good. Let's see if there's brake pressure. We have brakes. Put her into gear. Well, shit. Hey, look at that. You see the tires, Greg? Yeah. I don't know how to turn that off.
Fucking sucks. Yeah.
Look at the tires. I didn't even notice. They're brand new. Greg, the oil change is good till 158. And they even have a tire rotation thing on there. I think they were dealer servicing it. It says rotate the tires at 160. It's a one owner. So I think the Malibu's looking good so far. Obviously we'll know better as we drive it back. And the Century's over here. All right, so here is my subscriber's Cutlass. It was his father's car and he donated it for him. He said, good thing you didn't buy that car, Al, because, well, hey, the tire's no good. And I looked at this car, I said, geez, it's still inspected. He said the transmission's slipping and that it has brake line leak. Too bad, it's really clean. You guys know I love my Malibus. This is like the top dog Malibu. And here's the Century. Beauty of a bench seat, I can crawl right in. All right, I'm hoping this one starts too. That'll make my day a lot easier. All right, this one's dead. This one's dead, so let's go back, get the battery. Okay, so the only thing I noticed about the Malibu so far makes me a little uneasy is the temp gauge. It bounces a little bit. It'll go up toward the H and it comes back down. You can see it came right back down now. So I'm not sure if maybe it has a bad cooling fan or something. Otherwise, the car seems very good. The heat works. It has heated cloth seats, which is interesting, and they work. Oil's clean, coolant's full, transmission shifts fine. You can see we're on the highway here, doing a little over 50, and it's driving nice and straight. So I think I did all right. The only thing I'm concerned about is that temp gauge. Perhaps it has a bad thermostat, maybe it's just a wonky gauge. Anyway, guys, that was the highway test. I also have a half tank of gas, which is nice, but I'll keep you posted. I want to focus on the road, focus on the way this vehicle's driving. And there's Greg back there in my Escalade. All right, just an update. Been driving for about 15 minutes now, and the Malibu's still doing great. I gotta say, this thing's pretty loaded up. It's got the nice plastic wood trim, the heated seats. It's got adjustable pedals, as my Escalade has. Full power windows, power seats. I like it so far. It's pretty cool. Okay, moment of truth. I just threw a battery in the Century. I have not started it yet, so we'll see if and how. Obviously I heard this, you guys saw it drive across the block. It seemed to be running okay, but anything's possible. Okay, it did start. Is that power steering? Probably. Maybe it's well. Wasn't doing that on the auction day. That's low. Not a big deal. You can see we have no check engine lights. Definitely some power steering noise, which I did not hear on auction day. Could have a very bad leak. Might have leaked it all out by now, but not a big deal. Certainly worse things that can be wrong. And remember, I'm into this car for even less than the Malibu. I'm only into this one for $3 something total. Okay, we have brakes. Excellent. Seems like we're in good shape here. All right, so I wish I brought some power steering fluid, but I guess I didn't expect it. It wasn't making that noise on auction day. Definitely the power steering pump. Obviously the noise is changing as I turn the wheel. Otherwise the car seems really solid. It actually doesn't even smell in here. It smells clean. The oil change is, well, not really, 9 of 16. I think it's been done more recently than that because the oil is very clean. All right, here we go with the highway test. It is shifting through the gears, smooth as butter, as you would expect for a 49,000 mile car. And the shocks feel great. Everything feels, so far, really good. I just need to take care of that power steering pump. Hopefully I can dump some Lucas in there and it'll be fine. There's Greg cutting off a semi-truck in my Escalade. Always nice thing to see. We're just cruising right along here. This thing is smooth as butter. No shaking, no pulling. You hear all the, well, this is some weather stripping flapping over there. This thing feels solid. Got a lot of gas in it too. Probably bad gas. Car's been sitting for a bit, you can tell, but it feels really good. Unbelievable. Running nice and cool. No check engine light. The brakes are very squeaky. I imagine from sitting it's gonna need some brake work. Not a big deal at all. That's easy DIY at home stuff. Gonna fix those rocker panels up with rocker panel covers. They're very readily available for these cars and relatively inexpensive. And it should be good to go. This car, the more I drive it, now that it's being woken up and driven, because who knows how long it's been sitting. It says 916 up here. The more I drive it, the better it gets. I mean, the brakes aren't squeaking anymore. They're not pulsating at all. There was obviously a little bit of corrosion on the rotors that had to be ground off, but 20 minutes ago I was thinking I was gonna have to do the brakes. The brakes are perfectly fine. The power steering noise went away entirely. Now again, I obviously have to check the level, top it off. Like I said, probably put some Lucas in there, kind of help that pump out. But listen, I'm turning the wheel, no noise at all. And that's how it was going through the auction. So I was surprised when we started up that it was so loud. But there is still some fluid in there. I checked, so I'm not running it bone dry. I wish I obviously had some fluid to top in it before I left, but there's something in there swishing around, and I'll top it off later on today. It'll be fine. So the car runs perfectly. Perfectly. This engine is so smooth, like these 3100s always are. Listen to that. Just pulls right ahead, no problem. Perfect acceleration, smooth transmission. Anyway, guys, I'm almost home. Let me focus on the road, and I will get back to you later in this video, and we will take a further look at the cars when they're at the house. So you can see I have most of the vehicles put away for the winter. I don't put them away. I just park them like this so they're out of the weather as much as possible. Fill the tanks up, put some stabilizer in the fuel, and you know, that way if we have a stretch of nice weather like we did the past few days where it's up in the 50-degree weather and the roads don't have any salt, I can still take them out. A lot of people put their cars away and they put them away for the whole winter, and which is fine, but I hate to see them sit. So they're tucked away nicely. I got the blue Trofeo in here, and of course the other two garages are full as well. Some cars, like the TI, don't have perfect paint. I don't mind leaving them out, exposed to the elements. I mean, they're already not in the best of shape. So here they are. You saw earlier in the video me getting them back home with no issues. Now we're going to take a closer look at them, and the few little concerns I did have. This has auto start, but I think the clicker may need a new battery. There's two of them. I think they're both dead. Yeah, so the clickers are dead. What a shame. I wanted to try the auto starter out, but this Malibu Max is really loaded up to the max. Pun intended. Front tires are pretty decent. They're Michelin's. Definitely decent tread on those. But the rear tires, which are BF Goodrich, are like brand new. Big treads on those. So those are in great shape. You see the car overall is in very nice shape. The paint's excellent. One thing I did not know this Max had, I wonder if they all have this. This is kind of a weird car. It has a rear sunroof. Are you kidding me? Well, already damaged the Century. I'll buff that out. I didn't realize it was that close and this door had opened that far. So let's carefully this time open the door. Check that out, huh? How cool is that? This is a very, well, dirty. It's not that bad. I mean, I don't think I've ever bought a used vehicle that, at least from the auction, that was too clean. I guess from Copar I've gotten lucky with some, but you got these windows back here. They don't open, but there's little screens that pull out. Very cool. Just typical quirky GM. Kind of reminds me of the Aztec and all the weird features that had. I'm not an Aztec hater. I love them, actually. I think they're awesome, but this is pretty cool. Definitely not something you'd think of this car having, but it does. I'm sure it makes the back feel a lot bigger when you're sitting back here. The car overall is in very nice shape. There's no rot in the door jambs. You saw the underneath is spotless. This is the only real damage on it. I'm guessing someone tried to break into it or something over here, or there's a number of things that could have happened, but it is what it is. It's an older vehicle, 2005. You know, if it really bothered somebody, they can go out and get another door from the junkyard. I don't think it's worth dealing with it. Thing has heated cloth seats, which work. Power windows work, the ones I've tested. That's the rear wiper control. I finally figured out how to turn that off. It was going off when I bought the car. Typical GM, some loose plastic hanging around. So far, it seems to be a really good vehicle. Let's pop the hood and hear the engine running again. It has adjustable pedals, which I thought was crazy for a Malibu. That's typically something you see in an SUV like my Escalade. It has the adjustable pedals. I had a Navigator that had that. Typical for a big SUV, or it may have maybe a woman who's kind of small buys it and need to be able to reach the pedals, but I wouldn't think in a Chevy Malibu you need that. But very cool feature. I'm not upset that it hasn't, put it that way. I think it's just one more bonus. Of course, we have a sunroof up front. I'm sure it works. I don't want to find out if it doesn't. Got all the owner's manuals here. Nice faux wood trim everywhere. Low coolant. Interesting. That reservoir was full when I looked at it at the auction, so that's concerning. Let's see if that's true, or maybe we have a bad sensor, but the rising temperature earlier would make that believable. That is already empty. So something is happening with the coolant. We know that much. We don't know where. Not in the oil, that's for sure. Huh, what the hell happened? The Century. I wish it wasn't covered in frost because you could see how nice it cleaned up. Yesterday, I took this to work and it drove fantastic. This car is still running and driving perfectly. The coolant was never low in this vehicle. I thought it might have been. When I looked at it at the auction, you may remember, I think in the previous video, and it turns out it was just below the neck on the radiators. They don't have any coolant leak or anything like that. It was full of nice, clean antifreeze. So I topped off the reservoir, and no issues with this car at all. It's running and driving perfectly. It drives so nice. You know me, I'm tempted to keep it, but I already have a Century over here, a little more classic. We'll see. You know, maybe I will keep it, but again, I have so many cars already drive just like this. It just doesn't make sense to keep it. The keyless entry is working. It just started working randomly, which is great. Ugh. You can see everything's frozen shut. So I cleaned this vehicle up. Did a quick cleaning on the inside. That's actually my dirty feet from it when I did the car wash, because there was so much. You guys might remember, maybe you noticed in the video, there was a lot of stuff gunked up in the there was a lot of stuff gunked up underneath the hood, so I had to pressure wash all that out. But I vacuumed the inside. The outside, you remember, was covered in mold. I know it's hard to see with the frost, but it's nice and clean. Geez, I wish it wasn't covered in the frost. You could see this car looks unbelievable. Looks brand new. There was just mold all over the bumper and the hood. And as I expected, a little pressure wash took that all right off. You can see it cleaned out all the crap that was underneath the hood here. Blasted all that out. It was all in here too. You can see the mess that it left. Believe it or not, all this dirt wouldn't even come off with the pressure washer. And obviously I wanted to be careful around the engine, not get anything wet like the coil pack. So what I'll do is I'll get some engine degreaser next time I go to the car wash and you know, loosen all that dirt up before I blast it off in here. But the important thing to me was getting all the leaves and stuff out of here. out of here and out of the trunk area, which I did. Love that big solid hood. So this car cleaned up great. I have to get those rocker panel covers soon. You can see this fender in the front here has a little bit of a rust and attaching issue. I'm guessing from the rust that the mounting point broke off. Actually, let's take a look right now. Yeah, the way that attaches to the car just rusted right off. You can see the unibody's clean though. There's your unibody frame rail right there, and it's solid. So I'll probably have to get a new fender. Well, I say new, one from the junkyard that's silver. I don't want to leave that like that. But the rocker panel covers are easy. We've all talked about that. And this car, especially with the way it drives, the 4 new tires, the 49,000 miles, it's well worth doing that work. If I find a silver Century with good fenders, I'll buy both. I can't imagine it'll be more than $30 a fender. I know that's what I paid for the Durango rebuild I did a while ago. So, new fenders in the front, new rocker panels. This car should bring at least 1,800 bucks all day long. Heat works, everything works perfectly. But there is one vehicle that I picked up of the two. It's not doing so well. Let's go take a look. You might be saying, what the heck? You know, this car seemed like the one was going to be better than the Century. Well, believe it or not, this is the one with the mechanical issue. Now, you saw when I picked it up from the auction, it was running fine. I drove it home 30 minutes. But there were some hints at the beginning that got my attention right away that there may be an issue with this vehicle. Now, as I said in the previous video, or maybe it was this one, with donated vehicles, they're either donated because somebody just doesn't want to deal with selling it. Maybe they'll get more of a tax write-off than selling it for actual private party value. And they have enough money in their pocket that they don't need the cash right away. They can wait for the tax write-off. Or someone donated the vehicle because there's something wrong with it and they can't sell it. Now, unfortunately for the Malibu, it's reason number 2. This vehicle has a leaking head gasket. It's not totally blown. You can see it still runs and drives and fairly well. But there was a few things I noticed about it when I picked it up. But I thought nothing more of it than possibly air in the cooling system. Although I knew in the back of my head that the 3500 V6 does have head gasket issues. But you wouldn't think of it to be that mild. But again, obviously a head gasket problem is going to start as a leak and then go full-blown bad. So this vehicle, when I picked it up from the auction the other day, which I believe is in this video, I noticed that when it was sitting in the parking lot after a few minutes, the temperature gauge was climbing up to the H. But then it came right back down. And also around that time as it was climbing, the heat wasn't coming out. 2 big signs of a bad head gasket. But I was so busy with everything else going on, trying to get the cars out of there, I didn't think much of it. By the time I got on the highway and started filming, the heat kicked in and the temp gauge came down. So I figured there must be an air bubble in the cooling system. You know, maybe someone had opened the reservoir here at the auction. Maybe somebody compromised the cooling system by getting an air bubble in there at the auction. I don't know. So that was my thought, which is obviously incorrect. And again, I checked the basic things of the car. The oil, you can see it's dirty, but it's not milky. So that's how I know that this vehicle has a head gasket leak that's starting, but hasn't gotten too bad yet. You can see even the reservoir. I haven't added any coolant to that reservoir. See how much pressure is in that system? I haven't started this car in a few days, and there's still not much pressure. So I'm going to start the car up. I'm going to let it warm up, and you guys will see that the system will start bubbling. I'm going to have to shut my phone off as it warms up because my battery's low. I actually go back in the house to charge it up for a few minutes so I can finish the video. But another good sign that there's a leaking head gasket. An exhaust leak sound. Now obviously you can get exhaust leaks on a 13-year-old vehicle, but when you add all these things together, it usually equals a bad head gasket. And it does get smoky when it gets warm. Not too bad. Again, you gotta remember there's a little bit of smoke in all these vehicles. In the cold weather, they all have that smoky look to even a brand new car. It's just the way the exhaust mixes with the cold air. But again, this isn't a full-blown bad head gasket. This is a head gasket that's starting to leak. You already see the coolant rising on the surge tank there. In a few minutes, I'll turn the camera back on as it starts bubbling out. And then we'll talk about what we should do with the car. Alright, so I've been waiting for almost 10 minutes. Surprisingly, took a little bit longer for it to do it today. You can see just now the reservoir is about to start bubbling over, but then it comes back down again. There is some smoke coming out of it. I'm not sure if that's exhaust gases coming out of the surge tank there or what. That's my suspicion. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. What it was doing yesterday, if I left the cap off, let it warm up, is eventually it would start pouring out, and the surge tank wasn't full, like overfilled. When it was cold, it was down here, well below the low mark. So it's like I had it overfilled. So it looks like it's not gonna do it. It's actually sucking the cooler right back down. You can hear that exhaust leak a bit. And one other thing I'll mention is I have a Chevy Uplander van. It's been in the family since new. And it has the same 3500 V6, maybe a little bit different in the van, I'm not sure, but it's a 3500 V6 of this era, the value engine. And it has a lot more power than this car does. This car, it seems to be running okay when you drive it, but I was surprised driving it home from the auction. I said, it feels like it has no power at all, when that van will spin the front tires every time you pull out of a stop sign. So usually when you have lack of power, exhaust leak, heat that doesn't work at first and then starts pouring out, temp gauge fluctuating, the exhaust, it doesn't look that bad to me, honestly. I don't have a big, strong white cloud of smoke coming out. It is about 15 degrees out here, so this actually looks pretty normal for the temperature. So I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. Yesterday I was sure that the head gasket was bad when the coolant started bubbling out of the reservoir like crazy. But it is a high pressure system with the surge tank, and maybe just having the cap off and having it running that long, it's got nowhere else to go but bubble out. I'm not sure. You guys let me know what you think, and if it is a bad head gasket, what you think I should do. Now, I'm not going to get hurt in this car no matter what. I'm into it for a grand total of what, $450, $475? $475, titled in my name. Okay, it's got 4 new tires on it all around on nice wheels, which I could use on many of my GM vehicles if I wanted to. I could limp this thing over to CarMax, probably get $500 for it. They gave my buddy that for his Saturn that was on its last leg, and we're talking like a 1996 Saturn. I could run it back through an auction like Copart. I could donate it and write it off of my taxes and get a lot more off of my taxes than I could ever sell the car for. That's why most people donate them. So there's a number of things I could do to this car to get my money back. I could even junk it and probably get close to my money back just calling up a junkyard like LKQ. I know a guy had a PT Cruiser, and this is this year. This is a few months ago. I'm not talking, 10 years ago when scrap prices were higher. A few months ago, he junked a PT Cruiser the same year, like a 2005. He got $500 for it, and the engine was bad. And I was there when he called and got the quote. This isn't just some fairy tale offer. He got $500 for the car, they picked it up. So I can get out of this car no matter what and get my money back. Or do you think I should try Blue Devil? Siding with the devil. I'm sure some of you are shaking your heads already, but hear me out. I've seen this stuff work in the past. That doesn't mean it always works. The key thing is when you use it, you have to pull the thermostat, you have to tee off the heater core, you have to flush the crap out of the cooling system so there's no remnants of anything in there, and then run the Blue Devil through. And what that stuff does is it finds the head gasket leak and it becomes a glass type material and seals the leak. It's not worth doing a head gasket on this vehicle the right way. This vehicle is worth low twos, $2,200 car. I'm not going to spend $2 grand having the head gasket done. That makes no sense. If it even needs a head gasket. I'm surprised. It's been running now for 15 minutes and that thing is yet to pour over. The exhaust isn't too bad. We got no check engine light. It's not overheating. So maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? Again, I just, knowing these engines, the 3500s, they do have head gasket issues, so I'm about it. All these signs are kind of adding up, but the oil's still clean. So it's not that bad yet, if it is a head gasket problem. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Let me know if you think it's a bad head gasket. Maybe you think I'm just crazy and overthinking. Either way, I wouldn't want to sell the vehicle for top dollar as is, knowing that there could be a problem. So I need to either confirm it for sure and have the coolant actually tested, where the results of the coolant testing will show if the head gasket's bad, or just wholesale it out as is. Again, CarMax, something like that. Get my money back out of it quick and move on. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about what you saw here. Again, it's not pouring out like it was yesterday, maybe because it lost so much coolant bubbling out. Now it doesn't get up to that level.